Hello, hello, hello. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Hello, Kofteo. Merry Christmas to you. How would you say Merry Christmas in Romanian? Yes, it was definitely a fun year. I would say this year was a little slow, but at the same time, there are definitely moments in 2021, as far as video recording goes, that I greatly enjoyed. Um, Okay, good. You guys can hear me. Merry Christmas, Colonel Quail. Hello, Fast Joe Corrigan. Hello, Joshua. Um, but yeah, I definitely enjoyed talking about Josephus and talking about Poland and talking about Iran and talking about all these different things. These super fascinating topics. And yeah, um, Krasun Fericit. Fericit. I'm guessing Fericit is happy. Felicit, like feliz in Spanish. Because Romanian and Spanish are actually very close. They're very Romanian and Spanish are actually very related because they're both Latin languages. Good morning, HIX 101. But I have some things that I want to talk about, and I'm definitely here mainly to answer your all's questions and respond to comments and trolling alike. Ask me anything, but if the question is ridiculous or requires an entire time that it takes for a professor lecturer to explain or answer, I will definitely point that out. Um, yeah, like ask me what's your thoughts on Singapore, Joshua George. Singapore. I don't know. What are my thoughts on Singapore? I guess everything's expensive there. But anyway, this is Christmas Eve, and you're listening to Theodore Schubat. If you're listening to me on Christmas Eve, I assume that you have relatives that aren't really that enjoyable to be around, or you are just having one of those doomer Christmases and you want to listen to a little bit of pessimism on this night of joy and peace and this night of miracles. Exactly. Feliz. Yeah, I like Spanish. Feliz. Romanian and Spanish are very similar. They're both part of the romantic world or the romantic category of languages. Have you heard a Poland opposition member by NSO spyware? I have no idea. Why is that? Is that even relevant? I don't know. Poland opposition member. Have you heard Poland opposition member buy NSO? What does that even mean? Buy NSO? He purchased spyware? I don't get it. What are you trying to say? Polish opposition senator hacked with spyware. Oh, I mean, that's not really that surprising. Similar stuff happened here in America with the Trump campaign. And I think Obama or someone with Obama was spying on Trump. I don't know. These aren't really important stories at all. We'll forget about them in a week. Who really cares? People spy on each other. We get spied on by the government. Governments spy on each other. We know for a fact that Germany spies on the United States and vice versa. It's not really that important because it's just the way of the game, you know. Someone is spying on somebody. Less humanistic and more existentialistic. Romanians are the Slavic Latins, less romantic and more pessimistic. Um, I would think that Romanians would be more romantic, I thought, because you guys are Romanian, so romance is in your title. Um, yeah. Are Romanians a cocky people? Are they overly self-confident? That's one thing. That's one impression that I've gotten from Romanians, that they're very self-confident people. But yeah. So what are you guys doing for Christmas? Apparently not, not too much because you're listening to me, which is awesome. I'd rather much be on chat on Christmas Eve than eating, I don't know, fruitcake with some aunt and uncle. But I guess aunt and uncles are cool if they're cool people. If they're annoying, then who wants to be around them, you know? We got 7 people here, so this is a Christmas party. I had a friend who was Romanian. Oh, okay. Joshua, do you live? I think I've asked you this before. Do you live in India or Canada? I don't know. I forgot where you are. But anyway, it is 4 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and 3 p.m. Pacific Time. It is also 3 p.m. Mountain Time, and I'm gonna guess it is 7. Let's see, 5, 6, 11 p.m. if you're in Western Europe. Merry Christmas, Sister Tenacious. Thank you. Oh, you're in Canada. Okay, yeah. But were you born in India in India, or were you born in Canada? We got 9 people here. This is a Christmas party, everybody. Hope you guys got your eggnog. I don't have any eggnog with me, but I do have a Corona. Not coronavirus, but the other Corona. We are pretty shy and vulgar when it comes to interacting with foreigners. You were born in India, okay. Do Romanians like to insult each other? Is that a common thing in Romanian discourse? Hicks 101, your emoji did not come up. Emojis are kind of iffy when it comes to being on a computer versus a cell phone. Hello, Merry Christmas to you, brother. Can you tell me the meaning of Merry Christmas and why Muslims don't say it? I think we all know the answer. We all know the answer to that. But just to answer your question, because this is Ask Me Anything, Christmas literally means Christ's Mass, the Mass of Christ. And of course, Muslims aren't going to say Merry Christmas unless they're not very religious, because to say Merry Christ's Mass that would be corresponding with Christian doctrine. So insulting each other is mandatory for Romanians. Okay. But do the insults, do they ever go too far, and do they ever escalate into violence? Do they ever escalate into fistfights? Because sometimes people can go too far. Why do you think the serpent could speak to Eve and Eve speak back to the serpent? I think it's because all living things probably had one single language, whereas now we have different languages. Cats have their own languages, and animals have their own different ways of their own respective ways of communication. So I guess that's what it is. 'Tis the season to party. It was party. Oh, I see. Gotcha. Awesome. So I guess if I go long enough, we'll eventually go into a music session. I guess we can share Christmas songs with each other. Yeah, the insults always go too far, but fights can stir up. Not always. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's crazy. Eastern European people, I notice, are that way. I've watched the Eastern European films, like Russian movies, and they'll just like talk shit to each other, like it's just normal parlance. Hebrew was first human language before. Oh, please, that's. Can we not get into this? Thank you. Have you ever thought about to re-upload your father's videos and explain through your update knowledge? I found a good idea. Update which video? What do you mean re-upload? Which videos? I don't get it. All of my dad's videos are on YouTube. Hebrew was the first language. Oh, how do you know that? There's no way. There's no way you could ever even prove that. There's no way. The Bible doesn't even say that. And please don't quote to me the Talmud. That's not evidence. That's just some tradition. How goes your Turkish Christmas, Ted? Well, I don't have any eggnog, so there you have it, everybody. Divine Soldier. I do remember you. I just don't remember. I remember your name, but I don't remember if we had any conversations in the past. First language ever spoken was obviously Serbian. Yep. Oh yeah. God is Slavic, so it makes perfect sense, everybody. What is the message behind the story of the Tower of Babel? How much time do we got? There's so much to be said about that story, but just to keep it brief, I would say that the Tower of Babel. You see, everybody says that the Tower of Babel, in the Tower of Babel, like the entire world was. We had a conversation on nationalism, Hitler, etc. 2 years ago. Did I interview you? I don't remember. No, it's not. The whispering is not a new transition. It's because sometimes I record late and people are sleeping, so I don't want to be too loud. That's all it is. It's not ASMR. It's not a new transition. It's no, it's none of that. I interviewed you. Okay. I don't remember, honestly. 2 years ago? Where are you from? Are you from America, England? Where are you from? I don't remember. You have to refresh my memory, please, because I just don't remember. So back to the Tower of Babel. People think that that in the Tower of Babel, everybody was living in Babel, but I think that was not the case. I think that the Tower of Babel was a pilgrimage site, and that other people around the world, they spoke their own languages, but they came to the Tower of Babel, and what united them was a universal religious language, just like Arabic unites the entire Muslim world. And when these people got together, they came to this giant temple, this temple tower, to worship the planets. That's why they went to the Tower of Babel. It was to worship the stars and the constellations and the planets and all that stuff. We know this because when we look at the Mesopotamian temple towers, that's what they were for. They were for worshiping the planets. And yeah. Okay, Divine Soldier, I interviewed you. That's great. I'm glad we can now talk to each other on here. Now my cat wants to leave. Anyway, Tower of Babel. Yes, it was like Mecca. God destroyed it by scattering the languages. Yeah, it was all paganism, the worship of the moon and the sun and the stars. They had different steps. Each stage of the tower was dedicated to a specific deity. And I think that it originally came from. You see, the guy who built the Tower of Babel, his name was Nimrod, and I think that Nimrod was African. He was of the son of Cush, so he was one of the sons of Cush. So he was African. He was related to, I guess you could say, modern Ethiopians, and Africans actually had a lot more to do with the founding of paganism than what I think most people would want to give them credit for, or what most people would attribute to them. Everyone talks about like the Assyrians or the Babylonians when it comes to paganism, but Ethiopians were the founders of astrology. No one ever talks about this, but this is, I think, the case. Also, like ancient Egyptian religion, a lot of that came from Ethiopia. The garments, the hieroglyphics, a lot of this stuff came from Ethiopia. A lot of this came from the sub-Saharan Africans. And we know for a fact that the sub-Saharan Africans, they had pyramids, the Nubian pyramids. And also the South Arabs, people in South Arabia, Yemen, Oman, these areas, they are greatly mixed with sub-Saharan African. And if you look at some of the languages, the dialects in Yemen, they definitely are related to Ethiopian, ancient Ethiopian. And then also, when we look at the Akkadian people, the Akkadians originally came from South Arabia. Their gods, their deities were all South Arab deities. So there was some kind of a migration that went on, I think, or there was some kind of African influence in ancient Mesopotamia. That's really quite obvious, given the fact that Nimrod was a Cushite. And so when we talk about the founding of paganism and the temple towers, this stuff really came from Africans, came from African people. And there definitely was an ancient African civilization in the Middle East. There was a very wide very wide African civilization in far antiquity. For example, when you read Homer, he talks about Ethiopians being in, I want to say, even like in the Battle of Troy, they were Africans involved. I mean, Africans were a lot more widespread than people would think. Even in the Old Testament, it talks about how the Ethiopians invaded Israel, and there was like a 1 million man army from this Ethiopian king. Like they were a lot more involved and they were a lot more widespread than what people think. So, yeah, those are some of my thoughts on the Tower of Babel. The Nubian pyramids are based on the Egyptian ones. Okay, you could say that, but at the same time, when you read Theodore Siculus, ancient Roman historian, he talks about the influence of the Ethiopians on the Egyptians. And then also when you read Lucian, pretty sure that's how you pronounce his name, he talks about how he wrote a whole book on astrology, and he talks about how it was the Ethiopians who brought about the foundation for ancient astrology. And most definitely, the Temple Tower, the Tower of Babel, was an astrological monument. Yeah, the fact that Nimrod was African. I mean, like all of these things come together. I spent years reading on this stuff. Is really has fascinated me over the years. Is the Tower of Babel an actual building still standing? No, the Tower of Babel doesn't. I mean, it's not a retarded question. It's just I don't think it can be found. Although Herodotus talks about going to Mesopotamia and seeing a ginormous temple tower, and some people think that that may have been the temple Tower of Babel. I don't think so. I think they started building it, and then God disrupted the construction of it. So. Grandma's lard. What's your opinion on the SSPX and FS? I think the SSPX I think they're absolute lunatics. I think a lot of them, I know that a lot of them dabble into Holocaust denial and sympathize with the Nazis. They get into Nazi sympathies. They're very much deep into that. They think that a lot of them think that the Nazis were like great Catholic people and they were fighting for Catholicism against communism. I mean, I'm telling you, this is the actual fact. Like, I was in the SSPX for several years. I can tell you this right now. Like, when I first got into the SSPX, I thought that it was just a place for people who wanted to experience the authentic Catholic Mass and all that. And it is that. I mean, you will have that experience in the SSPX. They do the Mass beautifully. But then as you socialize with people there and you start making friends, you start talking with people and everything like that, you will quickly find out that there are a lot of people there who sympathize with Nazis. And at first you think, okay, that's just these people. But then you find out later on that like you have priests who sympathize with the Nazis. I met them. I knew one priest who was Croatian and he sympathized with the Ustashi. And then there was one priest that I met who was American, but he loved Adolf Hitler and he actually collected SS uniforms. So when you think about the SSPX, I'm thinking like, yeah, take the SS and then throw the PX out. Just keep the SS. That's what they should call themselves. As far as FSSP, I have no idea. I've never studied them. But SSPX, stay away. Stay away. I don't know about the FSSP, but double SPX, stay away. Stay far away from those people. If you take salt crystals and amplify with sound from Hebrew, it form different shapes. No other language does that. What? Amplify with sound from Hebrew, it formed different shapes. No other language does that. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna Google this right now. See if anyone else has ever said this. Salt crystals, Hebrew. I get a bunch of stuff on kosher salt. Let's see, salt crystals, shapes. Are you trolling me right now? Could you send me a link on this? I don't see anything on this. Is this something that you heard on YouTube or some like messianic group? I don't believe it. Africans are to blame for the creation of languages. No, I'm saying that they had their own. I know you're trolling me right now, but I will just say this for clarity. I believe that people already had their own languages. It's just that there was a unifying language that united them, and they all it religiously unified them so that when they would go to Babel, they had this one language, just like Mecca. When Muslims go to Mecca, Arabic is what unites them. You could have people who speak English or Chechen, Indonesian, Malaysian, whatever, Chinese, and then they go to Mecca. What unites them is Arabic. Nemrod, one with no relatives. Nubian pyramid. Okay. What do you think of Syria claiming a region of Turkey? Man, I don't know. I need to Google this real quick. I'm so far. I'm right now writing a whole essay on Poland and Ukraine and like the origins of Ukrainian nationalism. I don't even read the news that much. Turkey, Russia. Hold on. Claiming territory? I don't see anything on the news on this. Oh, taking Hatay. Assad vows to get back Hatay. He's not claiming it. I mean, I guess he is in a way, but he's saying that we're going to take this area back. Well, that doesn't mean anything because Syria is the weak link in this whole entire equation. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad made his intentions clear as he once more set his sights on the border province with the bulletin, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. This is why Syria needs Russia, because Syria has no military might. Hello, Giuseppe. Merry Christmas to you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Learn to spell properly. I can barely yeah, I know. He can't spell properly. It's difficult to understand what he's trying to say. Didn't Greeks just call everyone Ethiopian, though? Kind of like you call... No. No. Was Baltazar from Ethiopia? I have no idea. Baltazar, was he? Oh, one of the Magyars. He could have been. I don't think so. It's actually kind of a mystery where these people are from. I've heard people say that they were from China. I think the main consensus is that they came from Persia. That's the main consensus. How Africans were widespread throughout the world. No, it's not propaganda. There's actually a really good book you can read on this. It's called The Origin of Nations by George Rawlinson. Excellent book. George Rawlinson was an Oxford professor in the 1800s, and his brother Henry Rawlinson was the guy who actually decoded Sumerian. He decoded cuneiform. The guy was brilliant, and he actually shows you through ancient sources and through analysis of ancient inscriptions that there most definitely was African civilization in parts of the world that you don't see it today. So it's a very fascinating topic. I understand that if you get into this subject, you're like, you're definitely gonna see rhetoric online about like Africans, like we was kings and all that stuff, and how like Africa had a civilization in Mississippi or something like that, and that's all bullshit. But if you just look at the historical artifacts and the material and like these ancient historical records, like the Bible, it's definitely there. It's really fascinating. And I mean, there's no mystery. Like you can go to South Arabia and you can see tons of people who look blatantly black. And they're brothers down there in South Arabia. Hell, I've seen people in the West Bank, Palestinians, who look 100% black. How did they get there? Probably through the slave trade. But South Arabia is full of blacks, and they've been there for thousands of years. And there's even a group of people in South Arabia. I forget their names, the Gula people or something like that. But they're Afro Semites, and their language is actually very similar to Ethiopian, and they were there before Islam. So it's very fascinating. The fact that Henry Rawlinson, when he was decoding cuneiform, that he actually referenced and looked into some of the South Arab or Ethiopic Arab texts or scripts, that he actually looked into these. He actually had to look into these languages to help him decodify Sumerian, or cuneiform. So there's definitely something to it. Didn't Greeks also consider Indians Ethiopian? Well, I think they saw them as related to the Ethiopians because Herodotus talks about this group of people in India and the southern part of India who he says they look no different than blacks, like they look no different than Ethiopians. And then he talks about how there was another tribe in northern India where people are lighter skinned that participated in cannibalism. Uh, and he doesn't describe these people as looking Ethiopians. He describes them as Indians. So if you look at a lot of people in India, they look black, they look African, and there actually is a linguistic relationship between, and this is one thing that I've heard. There's actually a linguistic parallels that can be found between South Indian languages and um, Austro-Aboriginal, or the Aboriginal people or Aboriginal language of Australia. And if you look at a lot of these people in India who are really dark skinned, they look like Aboriginals. They look African. They look black. And there's even people in India who look like they're Austro-Aboriginals. Just like you can go to Japan, you can see photos of the Ainu, or the indigenous people of Japan, who look Aboriginal. They look like the Aborigines of Australia. So I think that in ancient times, the original natives of India, maybe even in Japan, there were Aboriginals. These were dark-skinned Aboriginals who looked African, and they were eventually conquered by Aryan peoples from Siberia and from Iran. And they just mixed up with these people. And from there, you have the Dravidian civilization, which gave birth to, which really expanded itself all throughout India. So Dravidian civilization was the first Indian civilization, and it was most definitely the result of intermarriage or intermixing between American or Indian Aboriginals and Aryan people or Dravidic peoples who migrated there. Much like the Spaniards went to South America, much like the English went to North America, there was an Aryan migration into these areas, and there was race mixing, intermixture, and things like that. So that's my belief. But the fact that the ancient Greeks would call Indians Ethiopians, it doesn't really mean much, because it just means that they looked like Ethiopians. Like they saw them like, oh, they look like blacks. Now, when Homer speaks of this Ethiopian guy in the battle, he calls him an Ethiopian. I have to look back into this, but yeah, there was something there. I don't remember exactly. Merry Christmas, Daniel. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, man. Didn't Greeks consider Croats ultra Chads that were superior than any other Slavic group? I think you might have smoked a bit too much of those non-kosher salt crystals. I am Chechen, by the way. If you've got questions, I can answer, and I'm Orthodox Christian. Oh, cool. Were you born Muslim, Zagon, Vox, or were you born Orthodox Christian? Can you tell us a little bit about your book, Christianity is at War, as I'm thinking of buying it? You don't have to buy it, man. Just write me a message on Facebook. Just DM me, direct message me on Facebook, Theodore Ted Schubach, and I'll send you a PDF for it. But the book is about the militant nature of Christianity and why Christianity is most definitely it's a militant religion that seeks to expand itself throughout the world. And yeah, it's about fighting against evil. Christianity is about fighting against the forces of darkness, and that's what the book is about. Watched Matrix 1 and 2 a few weeks ago. Those films, in my opinion, were masterpieces. I watched Matrix 4 last night, and let me tell you, man, the difference between good directing and mediocre directing is plainly seen in the parallel between the first 3 Matrix films and the most recent one. I don't even want to consider this Matrix movie. I would give it a C. I'm not going to give it an F because it wasn't a terrible movie. It was somewhat entertaining, but it was poorly directed. and you can see it in this movie. It was heavily rushed. There was zero character development. There was zero time spent to get you to like the characters and to invest emotionally in the characters. There was little time spent at all. In the first three films, there was character development. There's character development, especially in the first movie, for obvious reasons. It's the first movie, and so they want you to be emotionally invested in these characters. So, for example, in the first Matrix film, when Neo's in his office and then he gets that package and it's from Morpheus and he's talking to Morpheus on the phone and Morpheus is telling him what to do, giving him the directions. And then he goes to the building or he meets Agent Smith, and then Agent Smith is like, hey, help us find Morpheus and all this stuff. All of these scenes are there to give you character development. So you'll have these camera shots that just are focused on Agent Smith, and he's talking to Keanu Reeves. He's talking to Mr. Anderson. And then, of course, you have Mr. Anderson. And then, of course, you have the first meeting between Mr. Anderson and Morpheus in the big building. And they have this sort of prolonged philosophical conversation about the Matrix. This is in the beginning of the movie. This is in the first half of the film. And so these scenes are there to have your brain sort of soak into these characters. In The Matrix Reloaded, you have Merovingian going off for about, 15 minutes on his ideas. He's waxing philosophical on the concepts of free will and freedom and self-determination and all these things. These scenes are there to build character development. The way you build character development is through having prolonged scenes of characters. You have a scene where someone is talking, and they're not just talking like blabbing their mouths. They're talking in an eloquent and likable way. They're talking with some personality, just like Agent Smith, or just like Morpheus, just like Trinity. So all of these, what made the first three Matrixes great is that there was a character development. Even in the Matrix 3, where you're kind of like you begin to like this military commander in the Matrix 3, Matrix Revolutions, and then he dies, and there are all these things. Whereas in the fourth one, everything is super rushed. Everything is just like, there's no prolonged scenes. It's just getting on with it, moving on. All of a sudden, the Merovingian pops up and he's homeless, and then he disappears. Like, where the hell is this guy? There's no scene that allows the audience to sort of just mentally soak on a character. It doesn't exist. So I was thinking about how I would do the film differently after I watched the film. And I'm like, man, if I did this film, like if they said, Ted, how would you do a fourth Matrix movie? This is how I would do it. I would have Keanu Reeves just living an average life, completely forgetful of anything that happened in the Matrix. I wouldn't make him a video game developer. I would make him just a regular white-collar worker working behind a desk. And the first 30 minutes would be him just sort of living a normal life, but then there would be these little hints that would foreshadow what is to come. And then all of a sudden he gets a mysterious phone call. He's not answering it. He gets a voice message. And it'll be kind of like the relationship between Samuel L. Jackson's character and Bruce Willis's character in the movie Unbreakable. It'd be kind of like something like that. Like, you are a superhero, Neo. You're Neo. You're not Thomas Anderson. You're not that guy. And he slowly reawakens. And I would have Agent Smith and Morpheus and all these characters back. So yeah, that's how I would do it. But the fourth one just had no character development. It was just, everything was rushed. They're in Tokyo one moment, then they're in this room the next moment, and then they're in this like dungeony place the next moment. And the Merovingian pops up, and it's just all over the place. There's no the first three films, especially the first two, were very beautifully done movies. They were. Matrix Reloaded was a beautifully done movie. It was a wonderfully done film. I loved The Matrix Reloaded. I saw it in theater when it first came out at like 11 o'clock at night. Okay. It was glorious. The highway scene, the Merovingian talking, the architect talking, the architect goes off for like 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, but like maybe 10 minutes. He's going off until this whole like philosophical discourse on whatever it is. And he's giving you this brief history of the Matrix and Zion and all that and the machine world. and you begin to kind of rest on this character of the architect. Your brain will rest on it. You begin to develop a almost a connection with these characters. Like, oh, there's the architect, there's the Merovingian. Why? Because you have these long scenes. You have these long played out scenes of people talking, and that is what builds character development in a movie. Now, this is not always, well, yeah, it is always the case, and it can be done in a plethora of different ways. But it always has to be there to build character development. You will never have character development unless you have some kind of prolonged scenes of people acting really well. Now, if they're acting terribly and you have a prolonged scene, then it's just boring. But if you're having a prolonged scene with good acting, good dialogue, good conversation, and there's tension, then you can definitely pull it off. But it doesn't have to be talking. It could be anything. It could be like, I don't know, it could be Saving Private Ryan with Captain Miller and his soldiers talking in the middle of a battlefield, and they have a battle and they kill a bunch of Germans and they talk some more. Like, there's many different ways to develop character development. But yeah, I used to be a script enthusiast when I was in high school and junior high. I was kind of obsessed with the art of script writing and the art of screenplay writing. Like, I would read, like, I would watch a movie and then I would look at the script. I would go online and look for the PDF of the script or the HTML or whatever of the script, and I would read through the script, and I would look at, like, okay, what was the difference between the first draft and then the official draft, the final draft for the film. I was so much into that. I loved the idea of developing characters and the idea of developing a story with character development and tension, and that was something that always fascinated me. I wanted to make a career out of it, but it didn't happen. The closest that I ever got to making a career or to making a perspective attempt at making a career was back in 2000, and I want to say 2008. I wrote a script on the life of Pierre Van Passen. Pierre Van Passen was a famous Dutch journalist back in the 1930s, 1940s. Well, maybe around that time period. His book became a bestseller, international bestseller, because he interviewed Adolf Hitler before Hitler took power. So and he also interviewed a whole bunch of other people that were very famous in those days. And he lived a very interesting and adventurous life. And I wrote a script about the life of this Dutch journalist. And the closest I ever got was I forget his name, but he was what was he? He was like the producer. I forgot his name. He was like, let me think. Hold on. He was the producer for The Passion of the Christ or something like that. But he was the producer for Schindler's List or something. He ended up having dinner with my dad, and my dad gave him the script, and he kind of read through it. And then he sent me an email, and he was like, hey, this might actually, like let me look at it. Let me talk to my co-producer or whatever. And he never wrote back to me after that. And that was it. So I was super excited, though. I was like, damn, I never thought this would ever happen. Something like this would ever happen, but yeah, didn't materialize. Maybe it was too boring or it wasn't marketable. I don't know. But I've always found the idea of writing stories very fascinating. I love the idea of storytelling. It's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed listening to Michael Savage when I was in junior high and high school, because I loved the way that he would tell stories. He was very good at it. And the art of telling the story is not to be fast, and it's not to be rapid. It may not even have to be super deliberately intense, but the art of good storytelling is simply one thing, and that is to be natural and to talk exactly as you feel. To talk exactly as you feel. This is something that I've grown to learn over the years of doing videos, where I like, it's always a struggle when I do a video. Do I talk fast? Do I talk enthusiastically? Do I talk intensely? What do I do? And the best way I found to talk in front of a camera is to talk exactly how you feel. If you feel a little slow, talk slow. Talk exactly how you feel. And once you talk exactly how you feel, then you sound natural. And when you sound natural, people pick up on that. You know, like right now, I'm talking naturally. Right now, I'm talking pretty naturally with you guys. Sometimes when I do a video, and I'm pretty sure that this comes out and that people pick up on this, but sometimes I get a little nervous. Sometimes I stutter on my words. All these things are the result of self-conscientiousness. Self-conscientiousness is the enemy of all creativity, because it is self-conscientiousness is what prevents us from being natural. It prevents us from being who we are or what we feel at the moment. And once we begin to talk exactly the way that we would talk in a normal conversation, that's when we begin to sound natural. And that's when we begin to tell really good stories. It's why, like, for example, you'll have a video on YouTube of some guy who sounds like an Italian mob boss telling a story about his childhood getting a million views. You have these videos, they get a million views, they go viral. It's like some old fat guy who's like, so I went down the road and there was a deli there. It was a nice place. A lot of people. Grandma, grandpa, aunts and uncles. Locals. It was great. And we'd go there, and he could just be giving you the most basic story ever about his childhood. Nothing exciting. Nobody dies. Just basic stuff. And people will gravitate to it. People will listen to it for hours simply because it sounds natural. It sounds natural. That's why I think the teacher or the professor that's always the most popular in a campus, be it a high school or a junior high school, or be it on a university or college campus, the teacher who's always the most popular is the one who sounds the most relaxed when he talks. And it's the one that sounds the most natural, because when you're relaxed, you are who you are. And when you are who you are, your natural self, your real self, comes out to the audience, and people like that. If you're trying to be enthusiastic and trying so hard to sound enthusiastic, intense, and all these things, people will pick up on that, and it's just something that I've learned to adjust to. It's not always easy, though. It's not always easy, but you got to sound relaxed. Bottom line, you got to be, but you can't try to be relaxed. That's the point. You can't try to do anything. You just have to be. You can't try. Once you try, you fail. You can't try. You just have to be. There's this old techno song. I used to love listening to it when I was, I don't know, 18, 19 years old. It was a song called Just Be. I think it was by Armin van Buuren or DJ Tiesto. I don't remember. Some European techno group. But it was like, just be, just be. It was great. I loved it. But you have to just be. And once you are just being, nothing really phases you. Almost nothing will phase you. People's comments, people's insults, people's remarks, nothing will bother you. You just keep on going. But once something bothers you, or once something disrupts your flow, if I can use that term, then it all comes out. It's all reflected in your tone of voice. It's all reflected in how you talk. It's all reflected in your intonation. Everything comes out. And our brains will, by instinct, pick up on that without even, you don't have to go to a class to know how to pick up certain vibes and certain feelings and certain emotions. Most of our communication as humans is nonverbal. And so you will pick up exactly what a person is feeling, sometimes just by being around them. Sometimes just by being around that person, you could pick up like, okay, this guy's angry, this guy's free. You could feel it. It's a presence. It's an energy. Man, yeah, it's so true. It is so true. And our impulse, our gut instinct is what tells us about these vibes. Our gut instinct is what communicates to us the vibes that someone is projecting. It's right there, but we ignore it so much because we don't want to come across as impolite. We don't want to come across as paranoid. We don't want to come across as overreacting. But the reality is that if we would listen to our gut instinct every single time, we would prevent so much suffering in our own lives. We would prevent so much frustration. Because like every time I have ignored my gut instincts, I have always paid for it. It never fails. It never fails. Always trust your gut instinct. That is given to you by God. When you hear about ants and how ants will communicate non-verbally, they just communicate using their antennas. They send out signals. we can look at that and be like, wow, I wish humans had that. We do. It's called vibes. We have it. We just sometimes we don't know that we're giving it off, and most of the time we ignore our bodies telling us that something is there. Our bodies conveying to our minds that communication. It's a super fascinating subject. I haven't really learned about this by reading. I've learned about this just by experience, just by experience with people. Like, man, I should have listened to my body. Don't listen to your brain. That's one thing I've learned. Don't listen to your brain. Your brain is just questioning everything and doubting everything, and is always wanting to prepare all the time. Your brain is like, well, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to prepare for this. I'm going to do this only when I don't listen to that. Because you'll never get anything done. You just have to listen to your body. Listen to your body. Your body tells you everything. That gut of yours tells you everything. Yeah, the gut tells you everything. Anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent. Well, not really a tangent, but I kind of just focused on that a lot. You sent me something on Facebook. What? Oh no, a YouTube video. Shedin dedin in Japanese. Oh my God, God help us. What's up with my headphones? I think I did I bust up my headphones? I got some static coming in these headphones. But if the Turkish and the the Japanese Empire come together, God help us. That's all I have to say. I sent you okay. Theodore, any thoughts on the heresy? Oh, please go away. We was Krishana and shit. Merry Christmas to you, 117 Rebel. The northern natives of Japan used to breastfeed babies, bears, instead of their own ones. Is that even true? I don't know. I was indeed born Muslim. Oh, okay. You're a convert. That's really cool. Do you live in Chechnya? Do you live in the Caucasus? Croats equals Ethiopians equals Indians equals Indian Americans. Therefore, Croats were the first people in America. That makes perfect sense. Thank you. Merry Christmas, Divine Soldier. No problem. Yeah. Oh yeah. The scene in the Matrix Reloaded where they're having a giant party. I fast forward through that. It's like 6 different scenes. I don't know why they did that. That just ruined the movie. That was the stain on that film. I've been trying to convert to Catholicism, but I can't because the Pope is an I can't blame you there. Once you leave Islam as a Chechen, then you get found out. You are in danger. That's why I have to stay off the radar. I don't blame. Yeah, my father had the same issues. Father had the same issues. You know. Something's wrong with these headphones. Like a slight static. I think my ears were wet, so it kind of ruined it. Dang. I think I busted my headphones. Are you a Coptic Orthodox or no? Doesn't Matrix promote drugs? There's no drugs in it, no. The pill is just a tracking device. Adultery? I'm not sure. Like, yeah, there is that definitely. But the films are well directed nonetheless. Merry Christmas, Alex Yo-Yo. Still angry at the Russians for deporting our people and making us starve in Central Asia and conquering our lands. Why is the Pope getting rid of the Latin Mass? He's not getting rid of it. He can't get rid of it. But I think they can kind of impede it to a certain extent. It's probably because they come from a different mindset where they hate the Latin Mass because it's traditional and they want to push more for the modern Catholic stuff. This is my idea of a Matrix movie. Keanu finds out that everything is fake and that in fact he's in Turkey and must fight the Grey Wolf. That sounds pretty cool. That sounds like an idea for John Wick. Although I think they should take the John Wick series and just marry it with the Matrix series and then just freaking throw in Carrie-Anne Moss and Lawrence Fishburne in a John Wick movie and then just have just like John Wick is Neo. Let's just do that. Like John Wick becomes Neo, and then all of a sudden John Wick movies become Matrix films. Everyone should only attend the Glagolitic Roman Rite in Old Slavonic language. Yep, because if you are not in the Glagolitic Roman Church, you have no salvation. I would like it if they made a live action movie of the first episode of the anime. Oh gosh, the Second Renaissance. That's a terrifying movie. But you're right. That would be a good idea. That would be an excellent idea, though. Like a war movie, like a serious war film, not bullcrap though. Like a serious war film, like Saving Private Ryan style with machines. That would be really well done. Catholicism has gone far with its ecumenism, and the Pope tries to get rid of the Latin. Yeah. Cano pulls Revos versus Agents. I began watching your dad in 2011. Awesome. That's awesome. It's been a long time. We've been doing this for a long, long time. Italians should stop making mafia movies and start making movies about the Italo-Turkish War. I think we should stop making mafia movies completely. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Mafia films are so cringe. Like, how many times do you have to see a film about like some organized criminal who does the same thing? What, he sells drugs, he kills people, he bangs hookers. I mean, who really cares? Will you go to church tomorrow? No, I'm not going to church. If the most popular professors are the most relaxed ones, why is Peterson so popular despite acting like there is a lobster clamping? So by relaxed, I don't mean that he's just soft spoken. I mean that he's himself. Peterson, when Peterson talks, if you ever watch his lectures when he was a professor, he was actually very good at communicating. He would interact with the audience, he would move his hands around. He had a lot of expression in his face. Like, Peterson is a decent speaker. He's a good speaker. And I can tell when he's speaking in to his students, he's very relaxed. So when I say relaxed, I don't mean soft spoken. I mean he's himself. He's not reading a script in his brain. He's not following notes. He's just talking. He's being very natural. Merry Christmas, Soteria. I live in Belgium. Okay. Large diaspora. What is your opinion on Khabib, the fighter for the UFC? Do you think that he's a crazy fundamentalist Muslim? Oh, that's the one that made you quit the film? I thought the Merovingian discussion was really well done. It was well acted out. Like the aesthetics and the imagery was very well done. But again, I mean, I'm just an old millennial. What can I say? Yes, absolutely. My father, what made him leave Islam was Christianity, reading the Bible. And my father originally was from the West Bank. He left Islam, and then he had to leave his Muslim family, because by Muslim family I mean relatives, cousins, aunts, uncles, that sort of thing, because they really hated my father, and it became dangerous. And my father can never go back to the West Bank because they would kill him. Like, people would kill my dad. There's no doubt about that. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Merry Christmas, Isle of Aran. Khabib is Dagestani. Oh, okay. I get them confused all the time. But they're very similar, though. Chechens and Dagestanis, aren't they like super similar? I don't care much about national sports. Okay. I don't blame you. I don't get what happened to these headphones. Like, trying to fix my sound here. Dang. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the 2012 movie? Which movie? The film 2012 about like the end times? I don't give a crap about that stuff. Hello, Joshua. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Imagine not celebrating the birth of our Lord. Oh, goodness. Am I going to have to hear the guilt stuff now? So what do you guys do for Christmas in Croatia? How, like, what goes on there? Christmas is awesome. What do Romanians do for Christmas? What do you guys do? These headphones are, I don't know what happened to them. I had wet ears. I got out of the shower and I just had wet ears and I put them on here and then, dang, broke. Dang it. Sucks. Try to fix these headphones up. Going to church. Can you guys still hear me? Are we still good? Oh, now it's perfect. What happened? Now my headphones are perfect. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, good. Go to mass, eat bakalar. Bakalar was that baklava? Go to mass again on Christmas, and since after Christmas it's Sunday, go to mass again. That's good. Yeah. I don't think it's the microphone. I think it's the like the mic itself. Because the headphones are now working perfectly. I just replugged it from the mic to the computer itself. Oh, now it's perfect. Ooh. What do you know? But if I go here, okay, now it works perfectly. I guess it just needs to dry out a little bit. Note to self: don't put headphones on with wet ears. Bakalar is not baklava. Okay, what is it then? Is this some Ottoman Empire influence stuff? Hold on. Oh, it's fish. Oh, like bacalao. Oh, okay. That looks really good, actually. Oh, bacala. Or is that a beer? It's a fish or I'm seeing beer here. 1956. I see 1954. Bakalar Svetli Lazak. Bakalar. It's Croatian. Fascinating. Salted cod and is the must-eat traditional dish in our family for Christmas Eve. Oh, fascinating. Are any of you guys into Minecraft? It's a fish. Okay. Are any of you guys into Minecraft? Who's a Minecraft player here? And if you are into Minecraft, what is the appeal in the game? Like, why do you guys like the game so much? Okay, why? What is fun about Minecraft? What is fun about that game? Minecraft sucks. Yeah, it doesn't look like a lot of fun. It looks very like pixely and cheap and poorly done. I was never crazy about it. I never understood what was the like what was so fun about this game. Minecraft is for Zoomers who like to build things. But it looks so cheaply done. Like if it was well done, like if it had good graphics, I can understand why people would play it, but like it's so cheaply done. It looks so boring. Yeah, it's not my cup of tea. Surviving with your base surrounded by mobs and defending your territory is fun. But you could do that in like the Division. That's the thing, though. You could put the Division was a really well done game, by the way, very well done game. But I mean, the Division has excellent graphics. To me, it's like if it's pixely and has really terrible graphics, what is the point? It's what you make of it. Okay, it's comfy. You get used to the graphics. Okay, I never really understood the point of it. Now, Zagon Vox, I have some questions for you about Chechen people. Chechen cuisine, isn't it like super rich in meat and fat and cream? There's not a whole lot of vegetables, it seems, in Chechen cooking. You can't make bases in the Division. Okay, but the Division is such a well done game. There was a game that I used to play with my friends. It was called Freedom Fighter. Oh, it was such a good game for GameCube. One side would be the Russians and one side would be the Americans, and then like you would fight for territory in the city of New York. It was so fun. And then like the way you would win is you would raise the flag. You would find the position, raise the Russian or the American flag, depending on which side you were on, and then you had to defend that position. And if you could defend it until the clock runs out, you'd win. Chechen cuisine is mostly made of dough, onions, and garlic. Yeah, there's a lot of bread and there's a lot of meat I've noticed, but there's no vegetables. It seems like you guys are really into the meat and starch stuff. Checheni don't use a lot of vegetables, dare I say based. Yeah, they don't. I've looked into Chechen cuisine and it's all like butter, lots of fat, lots of eggs, lots of just protein, meat stuff. But I guess you have to eat that way if you're living in the mountains and you have to like raise horses and stuff. But the Georgian people and the Armenian people, they also live in pretty mountainous terrain and they eat a lot of vegetables. So I don't know. I only play solitaire. Oh, I have a joke for that. Merry Christmas, Alexander. Hope you have a good Christmas in Norway. But yeah. Prince of Persia games are very good. Are they? Thing is, Caucasians eat salad and fruits along with their main meals, not like in the West where everything is in the main meal. Interesting. So, what kind of salads do you guys have in Chechnya? How do you guys prepare your salad? Just imagine what the Chechen Mujahideen were lack of eating and their ticks and whatnot. I don't know. Thank you. Hope you and your family will have an amazing Christmas. Thank you very much, Alexander. All of my chickens are free. My chickens have been free ranging since noontime. They've been just free ranging outside. So I'm just making sure they're okay. But they're pretty intelligent. Chickens are pretty resilient and intelligent animals. Like I remember one time a few weeks ago, I saw a chicken this close from getting hit by a hawk's talons. And this hawk came down. I mean, it was almost like a Japanese zero. This hawk comes down and is like inches away, maybe like 2 inches away from grabbing this chicken. And this chicken was so fast, it just flew out of the way, and the hawk ran out. It was crazy. I saw it with my own eyes. It was insane. The salads are very good with eggs and mayonnaise. But what's in the salad? Like, what kind of vegetables? Just is it lettuce? Is it what's in the actual salad? Tomatoes, cucumbers? What is it? I have a giant black cat on my bed right now, but he's very grumpy. He's my hunter cat. He protects the garden from the mice. He's my new hunter. I recently played through Far Cry 4. It was a good game. You invite this crazy evil cult that takes over a rural. Oh, that's Far Cry 5, which is a masterpiece of a video game, by the way. It's one of the best video games I ever played. I love Far Cry 5. That sounds a lot like French salad we eat here. Yeah, Far Cry 5. Yeah, it's a great video game. I love Far Cry 5. One of the best games ever. The music, the character development in the game. It allows you to get, in a way, almost emotionally and psychologically invested in the villains. You know, you get invested in, especially Hope Seed. I think her name was Hope Seed or Beth. I don't remember. Faith Seed. She was great. She was great because she had that typical sort of evangelical, manipulative character. I'm not saying that this is innate within evangelicals, but this behavior definitely does exist. You saw it in the game. We don't eat a lot of vegetables since it's not a lot in the main meals. Yeah. I noticed that you guys love meat and, yeah, tomatoes, lettuce, onions. Oh, okay. I gotcha. The Armenians are more. I understand. Armenians live in the South Caucasus. Chechens live in the North Caucasus. Armenian people, they eat a lot of vegetables, I notice. They eat a lot of like okra, and they eat a lot of sorrel and just different types of vegetables. Georgians, they have a lot of spices, I noticed. They have a lot of, they're almost like Indians. They emphasize so much on spices. And then you have Azerbaijanis, and I think Azeris, they just eat basically Turkish food, Turkish cooking. Yeah, the characters in the game, the villains are all drug addicts. That's true, but you can say the same thing about the Charlie Manson family. You should try Deuce X. It has certain Matrixy vibes. Deuce X. Hold on, let me look this up. Is this an anime? Deuce X. Oh, it's a video game? I thought it was a movie. Oh, it's a video game. That's an old game from 2011. I'm looking at gameplay of this game. It looks very old, like 2011. Have any of you guys ever played have any of you guys, hold on, can you guys hear me? Are we good? Have any of you guys ever played what's it called? Whistleblower? Dang it, what was the name of it? Outlast. Outlast. Have you guys ever played the game Outlast? That is the creepiest video game I have ever seen in my life. If you do not like, I would never play the game. I've seen the gameplay on YouTube, but man, if you want I don't recommend anyone play this game. It is so creepy and so, yes, it's gay. It is so bizarre, that game. I watched a little bit of the gameplay on YouTube, and I was like, no, I'm not playing this. Nope, 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 not for me. Bunch of crazy French Canadian guys made this game, and they're so sick and twisted. These people. Outlast, yeah, they're just so creepy. Those games, very creepy games. I don't like them. Thoughts on Benny Hinn? I think Benny Hinn was just a bamboozler. That's what he was. And it's not just one question. It's like a million. Are the gifts of the Holy Spirit real? Are they for today? Like all these different questions that take an hour to respond to. I'm gonna give you the short answers. I'm pretty certain that miracles can happen today. I just don't believe they're done by Benny Hinn. And no, I don't believe in speaking in tongues or any of that stuff. Ghost Girl is from FEAR. What is the appeal of horror? That is a good question that I cannot fully answer. I cannot fully answer this question, but I can try to the best of my ability. What I would say is that what makes horror so interesting is, for one, it's how it's done. So if you're watching a movie and it's cheaply done and it's terribly directed and the color is garbage, it's not going to be fast. No film like in that style is going to be good. So drop that. But if you watch a film that's well directed and the cinematography is well done and the imagery is good, it can definitely have an appeal. What I would say is that this is from my own personal perspective. I like horror because it artistically and aesthetically portrays suffering, human suffering, and it artistically portrays human evil. Humans have always been into horror, even before film. Humans have been into horror. When you look at old Renaissance art or even stuff from the medieval period, there was always some really creepy artwork in those days. There was some very creepy artwork in those days. And a lot of this was to artistically portray evil or to artistically portray some very dark realities like hell or like the plague or war. And that to me is what makes horror appealing, is that it shows you evil, but it does it in an artistic fashion so that we can, in a way, accept the reality of evil in a more comfortable way. And also because, if a horror film is really well done, I mean, there's something about watching a movie that hits you right in the nerves, but it's done with good directing. There's just something about it, and that's the part that I can't fully explain. I can explain why. I can explain the ideal, or I can explain to you, at least for me, what is the ideology of horror, what the ideology of the art of horror, but I can't fully explain why humans like feeling scared. I think it's maybe we like the feeling of being close to danger, but not in danger. I think that may be it. But really can't fully explain. But there was a film director that I remember listening to. He was the guy who directed the film Sinister, which if you have not seen it, if you like horror, Sinister is a very well done film. But he did Sinister, and I think he also directed Deliver Us from Evil, which was also a decent horror film. But he said it quite well. He said that horror. It gives you an experience that allows you to appreciate normal life, so that you can watch a horror film and see something really scary, and then once that film is off, you can sort of look at normal life and be like, Yeah, this isn't so bad. That's what he said. You know, is there truth to that? Probably a little bit, but that's definitely not the whole truth. Resident Evil is yeah, I love Resident Evil. Resident Evil is very well done. The characters are definitely interesting. Now, which is your favorite Resident Evil film? Pandorum was a good Genesis type film. Serves those Darwinists right. Pandorum. I have not heard of that. Let me look that up. Hold on. Pandorum. It's like a sci-fi film. Is this really like genetically engineered people or something? The film looks like it has a good setting, but some of these actors, they look like they're from a soap opera. I like to be intrigued and scared in a safe way. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But again, we can't really explain why we like being scared. Like the real feeling of fear, you know, if you see something in front of you that I'm not talking about in a film, but if you see something in reality that could kill you, it's not a funny feeling. It's not a fun feeling at all. If you were to see a grizzly bear in front of you, you know, it's not a good feeling. Or like for example, when I was in Hawaii, I went bodyboarding or paddle boarding, and the current was so strong it took me right into the deep part of the sea, to the point where everybody on the shore looked teeny tiny, and I was stuck in the middle. I was stuck in the sea, in the deep, deep sea, in a part of the world where hammerheads are everywhere, and I had literally no control over the board. The current was controlling me. The wind kept pushing me, and I could not get out until somebody went in there and threw a rope at me, and I grabbed the rope and he pulled me into the shore. I felt fear, like legitimate fear, and it was not a fun feeling at all. And also when I was stung by a jellyfish and I believed truly that I was about to die, that wasn't fun at all. It was a terrible feeling. So fear, real fear from a real threat, or the sincere feeling of fear in the face of something that may or may not kill you, or something that you perceive could kill you, that is a horrifying experience. It's not a good experience. But watching a movie and then feeling legitimate fear, I guess you could appreciate in a way the director's skill at making you scared of something that isn't even real. So I don't know. I can't fully explain why we like horror. Maybe it's a mental illness. In RE, you always have someone talking to you through a comm or meet someone, while in others, it's very isolating and the protagonist seems, yeah, that's true. That's true. Thoughts of Resident Evil? I think it's a great video game. We like suspense and adrenaline. We like suspense and adrenaline as long as it's not real. We like those feelings as long as it's not actually experiencing something that could harm us or kill us in some way. Dead Space is cooler than Resident Evil. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know. I saw some of the gameplay on YouTube. It just looks like Alien. A game that I do want to play eventually is Alien. I want to play the Alien game. That looks really good. What good is a horror film if the audience is not afraid? I agree. What's the point, right? When you watch a horror film that induces feelings of isolation and then interact with people in real life, I feel great that I can interact with people. Yeah, that's what this director said. Thoughts on Metal Gear Solid? I actually have one of the Metal Gear Solid games. It's kind of boring, to be honest with you. People degenerate into animalistic cannibals. Oh, maybe I should watch this then. The Witch and Hereditary are The Witch, and those are masterpieces. Excellently done films. They're just works of art to me. They're the way that they're done, the slow pacing of the film, it allows for character development and then it allows for the audience to sort of rest in the movie. There's probably a better term that I can pick for it, but like what I mean by rest is that it allows your brain, your mind to settle in the story. You're just settled in it. You're kind of just standing there as an observer, just watching the story unfold, as opposed to the Matrix 4, where everything is happening and there's just so much, everything is happening super fast paced, everything is fast, everything is rapid. There's no utilization of slow pacing to allow the audience to rest on the character. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think most jellyfish, yeah, but this jellyfish, man, I see at that time I thought jellyfishes killed you. Like automatically you were gonna die. So this jellyfish stung me and it was excruciatingly painful. I mean, you can't imagine the pain. It was you know how sometimes when you think you have pain, but it's in your head? You ever have those moments where I experienced this a lot during the whole COVID crisis? When you thought you had COVID, like you were like you felt fine, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I was going for a walk and then somebody walked past me. Could I have breathed in actual COVID viruses? And then all of a sudden you start feeling a little sore throat, maybe you start feeling a little stuffy nose, and you actually begin to feel symptoms. This is actually a real phenomena in human biology where you think you're sick and then you start feeling sick. It's almost like your brain, they say your brain is playing tricks with you, but it's almost like your brain wants you to be super careful because you start feeling scared. So your brain is like, hey, you could be having something here. You know, we need to because really at the end of the day, what are symptoms? Like what's sneezing, what's coughing, what are all these things? These are all immune response, runny noses and all that. Like these are all literally just immune responses. That's all they are. They're immune responses. So it's almost like you start feeling afraid that you've been infected. So your brain reacts to it. Your brain sends a message to the immune system, and all of a sudden you start having immune reactions. So it's like your body starts trying to protect itself, even though you may not even have an actual serious threat. Uh, but your brain will start playing tricks with you. I forgot why I even started talking. Oh yeah. Um, so sometimes you feel a little bit of pain, like oh man, you know, you start thinking about pain, and all of a sudden you start feeling pain. The pain is, I guess you could say, it's real in the sense that you're experiencing it, but it's not the sign of anything serious. When you actually experience pain, that is a reaction to something that is seriously happening in your body, a serious injury or some kind of internal issue. You know for a fact it's not in your head. You know it's real because the pain is excruciating. That's what I was feeling when I was stung by a jellyfish. It was excruciating pain, horrendous pain, and it was pain that traveled. It traveled. The jellyfish stung me in the pinky, and it traveled up the hand, up the forearm, up the bicep. You could feel the poison traveling through your bloodstream, and all of a sudden it hit my heart, and my heart was racing like 100 miles an hour. And at this point, I'm like, well, this is it. I'm dead. You know, I'm gonna die. And I didn't die, obviously not, but it was a horrible experience. That I felt serious fear, and it wasn't a fear that I want to feel again. Merry Christmas, Sean. Nature is just waiting to jump you and kill you. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. You're just walk. I mean, your body is constantly battling things that you can't even see. Your body is constantly battling disease and constantly battling bacteria and viruses and germs and all sorts of things that you cannot even see. It's actually insane what it's insane what your body does for you. It's really amazing. Real horror is walking in the woods at night. You know, you have to describe to me that one. Is that like it is creepy, but it's eerie is what I would say. But I mean, do you do that in Croatia? The Outpost is an excellent war movie. Let me look it up. Hold on. Had any of you guys did any of you guys see Antlers? Was that good? Outpost. Oh gosh. Oh, okay. Hold on. I was about to say. This is okay. Hold on. Oh, this looks like a decent film, actually. I'm looking at the trailer right now. I guess I'll do a screen share. Hold on. I don't want to leave you guys out. Hold on. Let me do Outpost. Let me do, let's see, internal speakers. Let's do a screen share. Share screen. Let's do Outposts. Share. Let's do Outpost. Okay, cool. I prefer it when I'm like here. I prefer that. But this film actually looks decent.
How do we do our jobs and stay safe? Respect keeps us safe.
I wouldn't trade this for anything. Look at us, band of brothers.
Keep me in your prayers, okay?
Trust me, babe, I quit.
Wire.
This is like a decent film.
The Taliban's are here! Harmonists are coming!
It's the big one. Saddle up! Everybody fall back. Enemy in the wire. I'll hang back and provide cover.
We need to retake this camp. We don't have any air support, the manpower.
It's like a decent film. It looks way better than it looks way better than that Russian film about there was this Russian movie that came out. It was about like these Russian soldiers in Afghanistan. I swear that movie is such garbage. There's like one good battle scene near the end, but my God, this movie, I saw a little bit of it. They have a scene, I am not exaggerating this. They have a scene where like some Russian prostitute is in the base and like 15 Russian guys just all jump on top of her because they're so lonely. I'm like, does that even happen in real life? Does that happen? Like, is this even real? It was so stupid. The movie's garbage. I'm like, nope, not watching this. If you saw The Punisher, you might remember the character Dave, who's, yep, nose piercing. Yep, I remember that. I saw that film in the theater. It was so violent. Good movie, though. He plays the leading man in Pandurum, a total stud, completely unrecognizable. Let's see. Yeah. The Punisher was an excellent film. I love that movie. I saw it in theater when it came out years ago. Fear is walking through the woods and almost stepping in a copperhead. Oh, that sounds horrifying. Oh, or a bear? That would be horrifying. What's creepy? Oh my gosh. You know what fear is? Fear is walking down a block, a neighborhood block. No one is there. It's super quiet. And you see some guy by himself staring at you, smiling from a far distance. That is creepy. I know because it happened to me. I went down this neighborhood block and there was this guy who was like a total pedophile. I was 11. How old was I at the time? I was 14 years old at the time. This guy was reading a book and he had glasses. He looked like a total pedophile. And he's like, horrified me to no end. I was so scared. Scared out of my wits, let me tell you. During the night, the forest is pitch black. I had to walk through it on my way to the train station. Did you have a flashlight with you? Good evening, Scato Bethel, Scato Payado. I recently saw the new Matrix movie. I personally did like it, but I understand why. I mean, it was okay. I'm not going to say it was a terrible movie. It's like, it's the Matrix, right? Like it's part of that universe. It's cool to see Keanu Reeves playing Neo. It's cool to see Carrie-Anne Moss. But in comparison to especially the first two movies, the directing was very mediocre. I don't know. But it was done by some cross-dresser, so what do you expect? Wild boars and poscos over here on what we have over here. So instead of stepping on a snake, the snake will fall on you from the branches of trees. Oof. Wild boars are horrifying animals. Those things they're small, but they're so compact and so strong. They'll like bust your knee right out. Well, if you carry a pistol, yes, you're right. But I wasn't carrying a pistol. I was like a 14-year-old high school student. Okay. Is that when you started carrying your 38? I would have. No, I didn't. I never carried a 38. I've shot a 38. 38. Let me tell you, 38 caliber revolvers. Very accurate gun. I remember there was this guy I knew in Bakersfield who had like enough guns to start a war. I'm not exaggerating this. And this guy had a little 38 pistol. He had all these. This guy had so many pistols. It's ridiculous how many pistols this guy had. And he had this little 38 caliber revolver. And dang it, let me tell you, I shot that 38 so many times, more than any other pistol this guy owned. I shot that 38 more times. And that gun, the reason why I loved it, even though it only had like 6 shots on it, was this little 38 caliber revolver. It was so accurate. I could just aim at my target, and there was no recoil in this pistol. It was just, I mean, I can see why cops used guns like this back in the day. It's so easy to hit a target with a 38. I just aimed it like you could shoot a Coke can from, I don't know, 15 feet, 20 feet with a 38 and hit your target pretty easily. It's just, and there's no recoil. There's no recoil at all in a 38 pistol. So you just pull the trigger and it hits the target. It was crazy. There's a lot of wild pigs in Louisiana. Do you live in Louisiana? I've always wanted to go to Louisiana. I think it's a fascinating part of America. And no, it's not because it's like creepy or anything like that. Like, oh, but the bayou and like people eating alligators and fried okra and frogs and the whole okra gumbo culture. I think it's really rich. For me, fear is the feeling when you think we are born, grow and die, but don't know where we go. Oh yeah, that is definitely true. Heard wild boars taste really good. That's what I've never tried them though, but I've heard the feeling, man, this is a scary one to get into. It's a scary topic. That's a scary topic. The topic of death. I think that, man, there's been moments where like I have had little fear of death because I was so into my faith that death wasn't something that I worried about too much. But like dying for a cause is nowhere near as scary as dying of a disease. Like I've always believed this. I think if you were like, I don't know, fighting for your faith and a bunch of people are trying to kill you and slaughter your whole village and you end up fighting for your people. I mean, it's scary, sure, but in comparison to like being stuck in a hospital bed, bleeding out of your ass and urinating blood because you have stage 4 cancer, I think dying for a cause is much less scary. Cancer is the scariest disease on earth. I can't think of a disease more scary than cancer. People say, "Oh no, AIDS and this." AIDS is a behavioral disease for the most part, unless you were one of the poor souls to receive blood from somebody who had AIDS back in the 80s. I mean, AIDS is for the most part a behavioral disease. It by its source, by its very nature, it's behavioral. I'm not scared of getting AIDS. COVID, you got a 99% chance of survival. But man, cancer is scary because it's like anybody could get it. You know what I mean? Like I've heard there was this one guy I heard about. He in San Francisco. He got lung cancer. This guy never smoked a cigarette in his life. I guess he tried to eat somewhat healthy. I don't remember. Wasn't overweight. Never smoked a cigarette in his life. And he gets stage 4 lung cancer, like hardcore lung cancer, and he died of lung cancer. Cancer is just one of those things, man. It's like the Grim Reaper. I don't know. They say that you can prevent cancer by eating proper foods, like eating lots of antioxidants and things like that. And I think there is definitely truth to that. I guess if you're living in Africa and you're eating, this is what I think. If you're living in Africa and you're eating nothing but okra and rice, I don't think you're going to get cancer. That's just my opinion. If you're living in Okinawa and you're eating a diet of rice and fish and vegetables, I don't think you're going to get cancer. I just don't. But if you're living like an American and you're eating lots of processed foods and the chances of you getting cancer are probably increased. But again, I've heard of people eating like living off of canned food, Campbell's processed soup and all that stuff, and they're like 98 years old. So it's like yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. Cancer is a terrible thing. And even if you survive cancer, the chance of you getting it again are still substantially high. I mean, it's just cancer is the worst disease on earth. You're defecating blood, you're like urinating blood. I mean, it's horrible. It's a horrible way to go. Middle East has you're right. The Middle East has a very low rate of cancer. And the reason for that, my theory as to the low rates of cancer in the Middle East is the high consumption of olive oil. That's my theory about why there's such little cancer in the Middle East. A good example of this, if you want to get some perspective on this, is if you look at the West Bank versus Israel. Israel has very high rates of cancer. The West Bank, which is smack right next to Israel, has some of the lowest rates of cancer in the world. Why? How can you have two countries side by side? One has a high rate of cancer, one doesn't. How do you explain that? Very simple. It's the diet. Palestinian people eat lots of vegetables. They eat lots of rice. They eat literally everything with olive oil. Everything that Palestinians eat, they eat it with olive oil. Palestinians also consume high amounts of oregano. Because Palestinians, they eat something called za'atar. Za'atar is something that I grew up eating. Okay, as a little kid, we ate za'atar. Za'atar is a spice mix that consists of oregano, dried oregano that's been broken down into powder, so it becomes a spice. So dried oregano mixed with, and by dried oregano, I don't mean that dried oregano stuff you buy from this. You go buy dried. No, I mean like you got to get the oregano fresh, and then pick the leaves off the branches. It's an arduous process. Pick the leaves off the branches, dry the leaves. You can dry them out in the sun, which is a pain in the ass. But if you want to make it really easy, dry it out in an oven. Just put the oven at the lowest temperature possible and leave the oven door slightly open. Put the leaves on a baking sheet, put it inside the oven, and leave it there for like 20, 25 minutes, maybe even longer, until the leaves are so dry that you can just break them. You can hear them crack. That's how dry you want the leaves. The oregano provides somewhat of a bitter flavor. And then you take the dried oregano, break it into a powder, and you mix it with toasted sesame seeds and sumac. And sumac is a red spice that comes from a berry. Take the berry, you dry the berries out in the sun, and you grind the berries into a powder. Sumac berries are not sweet. Sumac berries are sour. So you have the bitterness from the oregano, the sourness from the sumac, and then you have the nuttiness from the sesame seeds. You mix it with a little bit of olive oil to bring the spice mix all together. And the olive oil binds everything together. And then you add a little bit of salt. And that salt also brings everything together. It amplifies the flavors of all three ingredients, all three of the main spice ingredients. Take a little bit of bread, you dip some in olive oil, and then you dip it on the spice mix and you eat it. Okay. And Palestinians eat this stuff, I want to say every day or almost every single day. I grew up with za'atar. I grow tons of oregano in my garden so that we can make homemade za'atar, because purchasing za'atar is very difficult. Not very difficult, depending on the state, it can be very easy. If you live in California, purchasing za'atar is pretty damn convenient because there's so many Middle Eastern people who live in California. Like when I grew up in California, you go to the Middle Eastern grocery store, you buy a bunch of bags of za'atar, and you're done. Now, in the South, like in a state like Texas, it's going to be more difficult because not a lot of Middle Eastern people live in Texas. You can't go to your regular grocery store and go buy za'atar. So for a while, we were actually ordering za'atar from a Pakistani supermarket. They didn't even have it. We had to order it through them, and they would say, "Hey, your orders are here." We go to the store and pick a bunch of bags of za'atar. That za'atar it's good, you know. But then I was like, you know, you run out of za'atar, and then you got to go buy some more. It's very inconvenient. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to grow my own oregano. So I grow my own oregano and make it myself. The health benefits of oregano have been immensely studied in the medical world, to the point that the state of Israel has made it illegal for Palestinians to harvest oregano in Israel and take it back to the West Bank. 1 second, my cat's meowing. Hold on. Come on, sweetie. So anyway, so the Israeli medical industry, which is one of the biggest medical industries in the world. Israel is one of the medical. I have a corona here. We're going to Mexico for Christmas, guys. Israel is one of the medical centers of the world. So when the Israelis the Israelis want to study all this oregano stuff because they want to extract the health benefit. A lot of our medicines come from oregano. And in Israel, they made it illegal because Palestinians would go to Israel and they go find wild oregano. Wild oregano grows throughout the West Bank. It grows in Israel. It grows in Syria, Lebanon. The Palestinians, I think they would cross the border, go to Israel, and they go find like wild oregano and things like that. They try to take it back to the West Bank. The Israelis have made that illegal. They will actually confiscate the oregano out of your car if you try to do that, because of the vital importance of oregano in medical research. So I think with the Palestinians, it's the consumption of oregano, high consumption of olive oil, and also it is the, I think it's also it's the little consumption of meat, and maybe also the fact that they don't eat so much processed meat in the West Bank. They do eat a lot of lamb, not so much though. But the Palestinians, they eat a lot of legumes, lentils, garbanzo beans. They eat a lot of rice, a lot of bread, but tons of olive oil and tons of oregano. The Greeks also have, not as much as the Palestinians, but the Greeks also use oregano a lot. But I'm not entirely sure about the cancer rates in Greece. I'm not entirely sure. Let me look it up real quick. Hold on. What are the cancer rates? Cancer rates in Greece. It's high. 279 people per 100,000. Damn. What's up with the Greeks? Chopo, to answer your statement about Croatians being unhealthy, I think it's because you guys eat way too much meat. That's my opinion on you guys. I think you guys eat way too much meat. I think that's your problem. You're eating too much pork and pig and stuff. Palestinians do eat, you're right, a lot of, they're plant-based. A lot of legumes, a lot of rice. Swiss chard is a popular thing. Kale has exploded all over the West Bank. I did not know this until a couple of years ago. There has been an explosion. We were looking at videos on YouTube. Very big market for buying kale in the West Bank. And my dad was shocked because he says, we never even knew what kale was when he was living in the West Bank. Just recently now, kale has become very popular in the West Bank. So there's that. I lived with the Uyghurs in Xinjiang province, and they rarely ate a vegetable. Yeah, Chinese people eat lots of vegetables. The Turks don't eat a lot of vegetables. Uyghurs are Turks. Yeah. Mexicans, I think, are related to Semitic people. That's why they look similar to Palestinians. My brother cured himself with COVID using oregano. Yeah, oregano is super, super powerful. Yeah, it's regulated in Israel because their medical industry is so invested in using oregano for research. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Okay, so you are in. I don't want to die, but I think I would rather die doing something good. Yep, I agree. I'd rather die for something than of something. That's my belief. I live in Shreveport, Louisiana. We have a lot of good food here. Come visit. Lake Charles are good cities. New Orleans is a lot of crime. Yeah, I would avoid New Orleans. It's kind of crazy. It's full of witchcraft over there. I had a teacher who loved New Orleans, and she visited New Orleans, and I truly believe that this teacher was a witch. I really believe that she was a witch because she was obsessed with Harry Potter, and she told us about how she went to New Orleans, and she's like, we visited the grave of like the most famous witch doctor in New Orleans. And I'm like, at night, she said. She said, at night, we went to the graveyard and we visited the tomb of this famous witch doctor in New Orleans. And I was like, that's insane. Yeah, Greeks eat a lot of meat, chain smoking. Yeah. Yep, I know. The Greeks love their gyros, which is delicious. My cousin's wife this year died of cancer. She was 40, very sick for a very long time, especially the final few months. Yep, cancer is oh my god, cancer is the worst way to die ever. I know a guy who survived cancer. He had a really poor diet. He was eating out all the time. McDonald's, Burger King, every single day, every day. He never cooked, this dude. Never cooked. Just ate out every single day. Got cancer. Dude got cancer. Survived the cancer, but he thinks that it wasn't the food. He thinks that it was because he was getting pills from the doctor for some kind of health condition, and I don't remember what it was. And he thinks that the pills are what gave him cancer. Who knows? But he survived the cancer. Now he goes to the gym on a weekly basis, but he has not changed his eating habits. He's still going out to eat every single day. Voodoo is something that some people practice. Yep. Yeah, very popular. We don't eat as much meat as it might seem. That's mostly in the East and Serbs. We will eat a lot of beans, peas, and some potatoes. A lot of fish, stuff in general, and olive oil. Okay, what's the cancer rates? Cancer rate. Yeah. Man, Croatia. Very high cancer rates. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Catholicism is big in Louisiana because of all the French people who settled there. Um, 117 Rebel. If you have enough space, I would just grow tons of oregano because oregano is kind of expensive. Fresh oregano is expensive. It's expensive just because of the nature of how we harvest it. Like you got to cut the branches and all that. I would just, if you have enough space, I mean, really, like you can grow so much oregano with like 4 plants, 5 plants. I would honestly and you don't need any space. You could literally take oregano plants and just put them next to each other. I mean, really close to each other. You don't need a lot of space. I would honestly just put like 5 oregano plants. If you have to, get a container and fill it up with soil. Make sure you put holes underneath the container and just stick like 5, 6 oregano plants, cluster them together, and just water them every single day. And they never die. Oregano never dies. Don't buy marjoram, though. Marjoram, it's good, but it's not as strong as oregano. It's not as endurable of a plant. It can, because we had a snowstorm last year. All of the oregano survived. Marjoram died. What's crazy is that I have a mixture between Italian oregano and Greek oregano. And when the snowstorm came, the Italian oregano was like, Mamma mia. The Greek oregano was like erect. Leaves were green and vibrant. Totally unfazed by the storm. It was amazing. So if you're going to buy oregano, make sure you get Greek oregano. Don't get Italian oregano. The Italian oregano survived. It was just a little bit sad. But the Greek oregano was completely unfazed by the snow. It was amazing. Hold on 1 second. All right, Nanny, come on. Oh, yeah. Just got here for my Christmas Eve dinner. Made a cheesecake with cream cheese. Sounds really good. I come from festivities to talking about death and cancer. Many cities are Sodom in the USA. San Francisco is famous. Yeah, we all know. I know. They ate green now. They are green. Oh, nice. I know I heard a similar thing about Serbia. Some people in Serbia think that the cancer rate is from the bombing by NATO. But I try to eat oregano on a weekly basis. I eat a lot of za'atar. I make so much of it. Yeah, it's really good for you. It tastes really good too. What do I put oregano in other than pasta and my chili? You can dry oregano and then mix it with sumac and salt. There's a video you can see on my YouTube channel. Just type in za'atar, Zataar. You'll get the video. That's how we eat oregano in the West Bank. Yeah, I know you guys aren't near Chernobyl. I wasn't talking about Chernobyl in Croatia. I was talking about Serbia getting bombed by NATO. I've heard that that's possibly the reason why Serbia has high cancer. I use a pre-bought. Oh, okay. Yeah, eat that. That's really good. The bag za'atar is also, I mean, it's really good stuff. It's not as good as when you make it yourself, but it's still really good. That is the reason, actually. I've heard this about Serbia, that the Serbs got bombed by NATO and the NATO used enriched uranium or something like that. Yugoslavian war, yeah. It affected Greece also. Interesting. The radioactive fallout, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the fact that their diet consists 100% of grilled meat. Maybe. Depleted uranium. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. It's like uranium light. They were basically bombing Serbia with little nukes. It's crazy when you think about it. Depleted copium. I have to laugh at that one. As insensitive as it might be. So this is my Christmas right here, guys. That's my Christmas right here. So much of a doomer I become. It's very light beer. Mexican beer is also very light. But you know, in Greece, they have this little island. I forget what it's called. But like everyone there dies at the age of 100, at least 100 years old or something like that. And over there, they eat lots of olive oil, lots of fish. So I don't know. It is evil. I don't know why they use that. They really wanted to punish the poor Serbs. I don't know. Samothraki. What's Samothraki? I tried Greek beer one time. It was really light. It tasted just like I was at the island. Samothraki. Ah, okay. Yeah, it's one of the blue zone areas, like Okinawa. This one place in Greece. They're considered blue zones. Western countries really don't like the Eastern Europeans. That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard, guys. I tried Greek beer one time. It tasted just like Corona. It was basically what do you call it? It was very light beer. I know it's Mediterranean people. They love light beer. Merry Christmas, Robbie99. Hope you're doing well, sir. Oh, Shiner's great. I love Shiner. Great beer. Those are not nukes. The depleted uranium, it is half the radioactivity of the natural uranium and is used because of its density, not radioactivity. Okay. But it spreads, right? I mean, it could spread. It's radioactive, or I'm not sure. This is what I've just heard. I don't know. Anyway, guys, anything new for the holidays? Like, what's up with what's going on with the Christmas time? Do you guys have big Christmas trees? I've always wanted just to get like a little Christmas tree. Like, if it was up to me, I would just get a little tiny rosemary bush and just put Christmas lights around it. Honestly, Icaria. Okay, yeah. I saw a video on Icaria, and they had like these old Greek guys eating fried fish, deep fried in olive oil, of course. Will they use nuclear weapons in World War III? Obviously. With this COVID crap, Christmas is not the same. Nothing really feels the same anymore. Nothing feels. Have you guys noticed that as you get older, time goes by faster? Like, it just seemed like only yesterday it was November. Now we're about to end December and we're about to hit 2022. Isn't that crazy? And God help us with 2022. God help us. None of us are vaccinated. Interesting. You could just wear a mask. I mean, you don't have to get vaccinated. I'm gonna make a Christmas dinner for myself as soon as this live stream is over. I'm gonna get myself some chicken thighs and saute it with rosemary, and then serve it with a homemade fermented chili sauce that I made. I have been in the habit of fermenting chilies now. I have a brine. I use this brine. So what happened was a few weeks ago, I harvested all my habaneros. And then not a few weeks, maybe last month, I think. Yeah, I got all these habaneros. And then I made a brine of water, vinegar, and salt and garlic. And I just soaked the habaneros and I fermented the habaneros in this brine in a fermenting jar for 2 weeks, I want to say. And then I just blended everything together. Not all the brine, just maybe like a few tablespoons of the brine in the mix, and then I add about a half a cup of vinegar, and then blended it all together. Added a little salt, and I made habanero chili sauce with that. It's a fermented habanero sauce, very very spicy, but very good if you add it to certain foods like fry an egg. You can put it on top of a fried egg. You can put it on top of an omelet. There's different things, whatever, meat, fish. But I kept the brine because before I would just throw the brine away. It's like, why am I throwing away the brine? That's like, once you make the brine, once you keep the brine, like you could use that brine for a long time. You probably use it for years as long as you just feed the yeast in it, the natural yeast inside. But it's like, if you keep the brine, you never have to make a brine again. You just cut the chilies and throw it in the brine. So I took a whole bunch of serrano peppers that I got from the store, and I put the peppers in the brine, just left it there for about a little bit over a week, blended that, and now I have this fermented serrano chili paste, and I added some olive oil to it to make it a little bit creamy. Yeah, the fermented hot sauce is superior to just regular salsa salsa is great, don't get me wrong, but fermented chili sauce is much better than regular sauce that consists of just blended vegetables, blended tomatoes, peppers, things like that. When you ferment, it adds this extra depth of flavor, which is really something that comes from sourness, the sourness of the fermentation, which comes from the lactic acid, which is a result of yeast and bacteria just eating the sugars in the chilies, the natural sugars in the chilies. Yeah, fermented is much better. But yeah, time goes by so fast, it's ridiculous. Rosemary and oregano. I should add some oregano in it. You're right. It's not a bad idea. It seems like only yesterday, like you listened to the radio and they got the Doors playing, like break on to the other side, and then all of a sudden you're playing like it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and now we're about to go back to break on to the other side. Where it goes by so quick. It goes by so quick. Life goes by so fast. It's ridiculous. Merry Christmas, Catherine. All diseases do their damage in about 3 years. Discovery, explosion, and then control. If you look at the bubonic plague and the Spanish flu, yep. Yeah, you're right. It does follow a pattern. I think that COVID is following a structured pattern as well. I actually heard that when COVID first broke out, I heard from somebody whose friend was working for what's the name of that organization that works for the government? Starts with an F. I don't remember. But this guy basically told me that his friend told him that COVID would be done in, I think it was like 2 years or something like that. And it looks like that trajectory was correct. The problem with eating peppers is when you go, yeah, I don't know. Sadly, Santa is the first major lie parents tell their children. I know, we all believe in Santa Claus. Okay, so I should have my own podcast. What is the difference between me having a podcast and me doing just videos on YouTube? Like, what's the difference? I don't get it. Merry Christmas, Mr. Hannah. The FDA, no, FEMA. That's what I meant. FEMA. Yes, FEMA. You got it. No, he told me that he had a friend who works for FEMA, and he said that this is when COVID first came out, and this friend told them, "Listen, COVID's going to break out. It's going to continue on in the spring, in the summer, and then there's going to be the winter. It's going to happen again." And he said that it's going to go up and down. Like it's going to seem like it's going away, then it's going to go back up. It's going to outbreak again, and then you're going to have some more. And then I'm pretty sure he said it would be like 2 years or something like that. And it looks like this is going to be the case. Don't podcasts reach a wider audience? Not necessarily. I don't know how. I'm not entirely sure. What is the difference between doing a podcast and doing, like, is a podcast like a radio show where I would have to talk for an hour every day about whatever? Like, that sounds really annoying. I don't know. I much prefer just to do YouTube videos. I don't see how would I do a podcast? Would I have to go to like would I have to go to iTunes? Like how would I do this? I don't know. Man, it's pitch black outside and it's 6 p.m. You believe that? Cold oregano. I don't know, like what's the difference between doing a podcast and doing YouTube videos? Like would I have to talk for an hour? What is a podcast? What is a podcast? Let's look this up. Podcast is a series of spoken word audio episodes, all focused on a particular topic or theme. Okay. I don't know if I could do a podcast. I don't know. I just like to do YouTube videos. Do more debates. Yeah, the problem is that people argue with you online. You're like, okay, let's do a debate on it. And then they don't show up or they don't respond back or whatever. Like debates are not something that you can just force. Like you have to have the other side actually consenting to a debate, you know? YouTube reaches more exactly. Yep. I agree. With YouTube, you have much more access to a wider audience. With a podcast, like I don't know how I would do that. Unless I would do the podcast on YouTube. I don't know. Look up Pangor ban. I would love to see you debate a Hebrew Israelite. That's just too easy. I don't know. That sounds really easy. Hebrew Israelite. That sounds so easy to debate. I wouldn't even prepare. I'd just be like, okay, let me read to you some Josephus that proves you wrong. Thoughts on Peter Schiff? I don't know. He's some financial guy. I don't care for people like that. I'm not interested in people like that. Thoughts on Peter Schiff? As if I'm sitting there reading about everybody. What's your thoughts on Peter Schiff, Joshua? What's your thoughts on him? I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. Theo Pangor Ban is a medieval Irish poem about a monk and his cat. It's short. I should definitely read that. Peter Schiff is a shill and a hater. Okay. Great. I don't even look at those types of people. So I don't really watch YouTubers. Like I'm not a guy who's like, well, I watch this guy. I watch different videos about whatever topic I'm interested in. I don't really like, I'm not a fan of one person or particular people. Will your father publish his most recent book? He already published it. It's on shoebot.com. Go on shoebot.com. Oh, you mean like an actual hardcover? No, he's not going to do that. He wants it for free for everybody. He's not a YouTuber. He's a libertarian. You can be a libertarian YouTuber. I think somebody texted me just now. I wonder who it is. Probably some Indian scam artist. Anyway, so are we going to get into music or what? Anybody have a good song to play? And I'll try it out and then I'll rate it and be like, okay, this guy gets first place. Do you guys, so how do you guys celebrate Christmas? Do you guys watch Home Alone or what? What do you guys do for the Indian scams? Do you guys watch Home Alone? How do you guys celebrate Christmas? What do you guys do? I don't do anything for Christmas. I don't do anything for Christmas. I take some gifts and I just sit back and that's it. Like I don't, it's like, it's not really a different day for me. I do pretty much the same stuff I would do in any other day. Dinner, talk, drink, open presents. But what about now? Like, you could do that during COVID too. You could have like a Christmas dinner on Skype. You could have all your friends on Skype and be like, cheers, everybody. Ooh. YouTube, just drink all day and watch Shoop. That is a good choice. I just hang out with family. Watch a Christmas movie. So what's your favorite Christmas movie? Is it my personal favorite is Home Alone. And Die Hard. I love Die Hard. Merry Christmas, Cyprian Stimate. Song Hey by the Pixies. Oh no, this doesn't sound too promising. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Let's go to the Pixies. Hey by the Pixies. Pixies. This is like 10 million views for this. Hold on. Let me do a screen share. Let's do it. Oh, okay, here it is. Hold on, where's me? There I am.
Been trying to meet you.
Oh no. No.
Hey,
No.
must be a devil between us. Horse ahead, horse on.
It's not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all, huh? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a masterpiece of comedy. It really is. Die Hard is a great film. Home Alone. Home Alone 1 or 2? That's a hard one. I like Home Alone 1. I'm going to go with 1. The Grinch is Donald Trump. We all know this. We hear it 3 times, Theo. You hear what 3 times? Or Gouge Away by the Pixies. I recently watched Fiddler in the Roof. Fiddler in the Roof was a very well done film. Very well done movie. I enjoyed it. Does anybody else have any music to share? Or what? I don't know. What do you guys? I mean, Christmas? I don't know. The song, when you play it, you heard it 3 times? I don't get it. I don't get what you're trying to say. I give up trying to understand you. Have you seen Falling Down with Michael Douglas? Falling Down with Michael Douglas? Oh, this movie. It's like some crazy doomer movie. No, I never liked that. I saw like a scene of it. It doesn't look like a good movie. It's a guy who just loses his mind and has a breakdown, mental breakdown. I mean, I don't know why that's interesting. Watching DVD War with everyone. What's DVD War? Oh, you're the one who texted me. Okay. Toma Niger, Croatian humanist diplomat, Bishop of Skradin. Served as the Bishop of Trogir. He committed most of his life to diplomacy, trying to help crumbling Kingdom of Croatia against the Ottoman. Trying to help crumbling Kingdom of Croatia against the Ottoman Empire. Interesting. Echo. Oh, there's an echo. Okay. Have you seen the trailer for the North? Yeah, I did. It looks really promising. The director did the Witch, which was an amazing movie. War on Everyone. Is that a movie? War on Everyone? Interesting. I never watched this. Is that a good movie? It's not. It's not pronounced like the African country. How do you pronounce it? Toma Niger? I'm not going to say it the other way because I might get banned off YouTube. Good movie. I think you'd like it. Okay, I'll check it out. Have any of you guys seen the film Antlers? That looks really promising. That movie looks really promising. Merry Christmas, Tom Gugliotta. Say it, Theo. Come on. It's just a word. No, I'm not going to fall for that trap. That stuff will get you banned so fast. It's ridiculous. I said the F word one time on YouTube. And by F word, I'm not talking about FU. I mean FAGG. And YouTube, within within a day, YouTube had it taken down. War on Everyone. Have any of you guys seen the film Sicario, the second one? That was a really well done film. We do a little trolling way. Toma. Well, he was a very good man, it seems. Try reading the poem Pangur Ban on stream. It's short. Okay. I'll look it up. I miss the old days of YouTube when you could just... Dude, there was a time in YouTube where you could just say anything and nothing happened to you. You could post anything, nothing happened to you. Now they got all these rules and everything, which is kind of understandable because you have people who abuse the freedom and they start posting just garbage. Song Trials by Starset. Let's hear this one.
These trials make us who we are, we are. We're motivated by the scars that we're made of. These trials make us who we are, we are. We take up places in the dark and turn our hearts to the stars.
It's okay. A little too much synthetic sound for me. But I do listen to techno music, but this one sounds too, I don't know, it sounds too bassy. Let me look this up real quick. Hold on. What's the name of the poem that you have there for me? Hold on. Pangur Ban. Okay, hold on. Poem. Old Irish poem. Written about the 19th century at or near Richnau Abbey by an Irish monk about his cat. Pangur Ban, white Pangur, is the cat's name. Pangur possibly meaning a fuller. The poem is found in only one manuscript. I and Pangur Ban, each of us two at a special art. His mind at hunting mice. My own mind is my special gift. I love to rest better than any fame at my booklet with diligent science. Not envious of me is Pangur Ban. He himself loves his childish art. When we are, tale without tedium, in our house, we two alone. We have unlimited is feet sport. Something to which to apply our acuteness. It is customary at times by feat of valor that a mouse sticks in his net. And for me, there falls into my net a difficult dictum with hard meaning. His eye, this glancing full one, he points against the wall fence. I myself against the keenness of science point my clear eye. Though it is very feeble, he is joyous with speedy going, where a mouse sticks in his sharp claw. I too am joyous, where I understand a difficult, dear question. Though we are thus always, neither hinders the other. Each of us too like his art, amuses himself alone. He himself is the master of the work which he does every day, while I am at my own work, which is to bring difficulty to clearness. Very nice. No, she doesn't. I need to tell my mom to make some tamales with oregano. Might be tasty. Anyway, guys, it's been over 2 hours. I think I'm gonna get going here. If you have any more questions, just put them in now because I'm gonna get going soon. But if you keep giving me questions, I'll continue to answer them. Rudyard Kipling. I remember reading about that guy. Anyway. I sent you another song to check out. Okay, hold on. Pixies. Little weird, huh? Little serial killerish. Merry Christmas, all. I hope you drink much. What else is left? I agree. What's your favorite holiday? I would say Christmas. Do you believe in the death penalty as a Christian? Yes, I do. Oh no, is this the guy? I don't know. I don't want to misidentify people, but yes, I do believe in the death penalty. Antlers is based on the Wendigo, which is part of Native American folklore. The Wendigo is basically a kind of demonic entity that's similar to Satan in the Bible. I enjoyed the film, but what? It wasn't as enjoyable as some of the other. Oh, okay. The Doors had a serial killer vibe to me. My mom said her friend who killed herself. Yeah, it's a very weird. It's a very weird band. I never liked their music. It just seems chaotic. This music. There's nothing. There's like. It's just like. Like I don't know. It just doesn't fit me. Yeah, Clockwork Orange. I never hated that movie. I never saw the whole thing. I saw a couple scenes from it. It just looks so sick. Modern Catholics are no longer Thomists, and that is a major reason why socialism is taking over. I think socialism is taking over because there's no common sense. Like you could believe in the death penalty and not even read Thomas Aquinas. You don't have to read Thomas Aquinas to know the death penalty is necessary in certain cases. I mean, you don't have to read Thomas Aquinas to be like, oh yeah, Ted Bundy. Yeah, I think that guy has lost his right to live. Some movies are profoundly forgettable. Yeah, that's definitely one of them. Do you think we are in the end times? I think so. We'll see. Time will tell. Yeah. Natural law, exactly. I think the end times will take decades to fulfill. Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably a more practical assessment. But anyway, I think I'm done here, unless somebody wants to argue with me about something. About the death penalty, I assume. What's your favorite ice cream? Oh, man. I love coconut ice cream. Cookies and cream is amazing. Theo, what are your thoughts on... Yeah, what's my thought? What's your thoughts on David Brogg? What's your thoughts on Michael Voris? What's your thoughts on the government of Tibet? What is your thoughts on Burkina Faso? And then you ask this guy, this Joshua guy, he asks you a question, and then you ask him a question, he never answers it. It's like, is this guy a troll or something? The guy sounds like a major troll. I don't know. What's your thoughts on the government of Nigeria? I had avocado ice cream. Ew. It was very good. I don't know. Thoughts on David Blaine? Here we go.
Topic. I had
What is your thoughts on Miroslav Bulisic? I don't know. You tell me. It seems like you know a lot more about him. Cantaloupe full fat ice cream is amazing. That sounds really good. I don't know. Cantaloupe was excellent. But I would say cookies and cream, you can't go wrong with it. Can't go wrong with cookies and cream. What's your thoughts on Toma the Gamer Word? Toma the Gamer. Sounds like a great guy. I make homemade ice cream made vanilla, strawberry, dulce de leche. Is there a halal ice cream in Palestine? I guess so. Are there any Halo fans in the house? I never really like. What's the big deal about Halo? I tried playing it years ago. I didn't like it. It's too boring for me. Wasn't scary enough. I guess it's the nostalgia of it. It's the nostalgic element. Like it was a major shooting game that popped up. It's like one of the first really famous first-person shooters, I guess. I don't know. What's your thoughts on space mining? I don't know. Hopefully they'll find some good rocks up there. I like the campaign. Tons of lore. I did not know that it had tons of lore. Halo just seems like an empty game. Like you're walking around some building and there's like little gummy bear monsters coming at you. They're like, "You bastard, I'm gonna get you." You're like, this doesn't seem like a fun game to me. It just never seemed like a fun game. Oh, like a multiplayer? Yeah, I can understand. That's like GoldenEye. Oh, I see. All right, guys. I think I'm done. I'll be here for 2 hours and a half. You guys enjoy the rest of y'all's Christmas. Be well. God bless you. Merry Christmas. And I will see you soon. Probably not tomorrow, but the day after. And then we're about to hit 2022. So here we go, guys. All right. Bye-bye. God bless y'all. Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad.